Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Summer School. Today is our first episode back since literally before I gave birth, which I also prepped a lot of episodes to where I could take a couple weeks off pre-birth. So it's literally been like 6 weeks since I've talked to this mic by myself. Actually, no, all of the episodes recently were interviews. So it's been quite a while since I've done a podcast episode by myself. So this is crazy. I'm back. We're back. And summer school's back. I mean, it's not like it went away because we batched some episodes, but live summer is back. So, updates. Literally had a baby. We're about 3 weeks postpartum. So our baby's name is Georgia or Gigi or George or whatever we want to call her. But her real name is Georgia Grace. And she was born December 21st. And it was honestly a pretty good experience. Well, we're going to dive into that in a second. But I put on my stories, ask me some questions. It could be about business. It could be about giving birth. It could be about maternity leave, whatever people wanted to ask. And this is just an episode to kind of like intro us back into live summer school. And what I mean by live is not, 6 weeks worth of batched content. So I'm back. Let's go and dive in with one of the first questions. Let's see what people asked. What's the biggest adjustment you and Jake have had to make since having Georgia? Also, congrats. Thank you. You know what's crazy is, even though it's been 3 weeks, it feels like I literally just had her and that I'm still learning how to be a mom and Jake's still learning how to be a dad and we're learning how to be parents together. So adjustment-wise, I don't even know if I know yet. But the first 2 weeks we had my mom in town, so that was different. And life has been different since she's left. If anything, life has actually felt a lot more normal. I think weirdly, things almost may have felt harder but easier while she was here. Like, she helped so much, but also life just wasn't normal, which is hard for me. I'm someone who, even though I might not seem like I have any routines at all, I need my everyday life and ways that I do things. And then I also need to be productive in some capacity, whether that means during my maternity leave, it was like getting things done, building the nursery. This is part of that. My office is in the nursery now. But whether it was, things to that capacity, or it's working, or it's planning work things, or it's taking client calls, whatever that might look like, I need to be semi-productive to be happy. So, they say like just spend time with baby and healing. But for me, if anything, it kind of got hard doing that. And so since she's left, we've had to figure out our own routines. And I feel like these past 3 days, life has really been on the up and up, which also physically your body has to heal a lot. So, I needed to rest. I was wiped out for 2 weeks. Some people right after giving birth, they're able to wear their baby and have fun and walk around the house. No, I was in so much pain. So we might dive into that because someone did ask about our birth story. But I guess the biggest adjustment we've had to make is, the biggest adjustment practically is sleep, obviously. Luckily, our baby sleeps really well through the night, kind of. She sleeps 2 to 3 hour increments, and that's pretty solid from what I've read online. And so, adjusting to new sleep schedules is definitely a big adjustment, because if any of you know me and Jake in real life, or maybe I've said this on the podcast, we were night owls. I would work until 2 a.m. I'd wake up at 10 or 11. No, it is literally the past couple days I've been Jake, I have to go to bed by the time she goes to bed at 9:30 or 10 at the latest if I'm going to get up and have a productive day. And so it's been the fight to figure out how to get myself in bed by that time. But also, I don't naturally fall asleep that early. So it's been kind of hard for me to actually fall asleep, and it just turns into me laying there for 2 hours, but I'm trying. So basically, I understand now why parents are morning people, because she wakes up at 6. Well, she wakes up at 12, 3, 6, and 9, somewhere in those ranges. And so, yeah, there's that first sleep. I'm I have to be asleep by the first night's sleep because I need sleep. So that has been an adjustment on a practical level, trying to figure out how to get myself to be a morning person. It's not really working. I've been sleeping until like 12. Jake has taken the morning shifts, but that's been something I'm trying to adjust. It's just I've been getting in bed by like 10, and yeah, if you knew me before, it was more like 1 or 2 in the morning. So that is a huge adjustment. Other adjustments, definitely, I mean, we just now started working maybe a couple days ago. So as far as that goes, that looks a lot different. It looks like me watching Georgia and making sure she stays asleep while me and Jake drink coffee, and he talks to me through like the emails and things that are happening, or he'll take notes while I like word vomit. Definitely a team effort. Jake's picking up so much slack both on the parenting side and in the business, and so definitely a huge adjustment there that like Jake is just absolutely killing it, helping out in both spheres so well. But yeah, those are really like the only 2 adjustments as of now, but we've really only had like 5 days, maybe a week or so without my mom in town. So we're still figuring a lot of this out. But yeah. The next one, I'll answer all the baby things first, and then I'll answer some of the work questions. So someone asked my birth story. So while we're on the topic of baby things, when people say birth story, I'm assuming just like how I went into labor, how it happened, how it went. So I'm gonna tell you guys that I carried till my due date that my doctor had said. I thought mine was sooner because of tracking, but yeah, my doctor said my due date was the 21st, and I literally gave birth on the 21st. So that's crazy. I've heard that only happens to like 5% of people. So that's wild, but I definitely thought I was going to give birth on the 18th for some reason. Just it was in my mind that I was going to, and the 18th hit. It wasn't happening. I was showing no signs of labor in any capacity. My doctor started talking induction just on the off chance that it never happened for me, As I was approaching 40 weeks, I was willing to obviously carry over 40, but, also was talking to him about that. So yeah, we had scheduled an induction for just in case I didn't go into labor naturally. And then my mom flew into town the 18th. We did something called a membrane sweep, and my plan was if I hadn't had the baby by the 19th, we'd do the membrane sweep the 19th. I think it was the 19th. And we would go to a place called the Grove in LA, show my mom the Grove, which for Christmas is really pretty. They have like snowfall twice a day, fake snow, it's LA, and Christmas lights. And so I was like, we'll go to the Grove, we'll have a fun time, we'll curb walk, and I will have the baby like the next day. So that happened. We went to the Grove, which I'm trying to figure out now. Yes, this is exactly. So the 19th, had the sweep, went to the Grove, walked around, ate food, walked some curbs, did some curb walking, did all the things. And my plan was literally that the walking would cause labor. And that night at 1 a.m., I started having cramping, which I had no idea if it was labor or if I was just like overexerted myself. So I slept through the first 10 hours of my labor, basically. I woke up at 10 a.m. and I was like, Mom, these feel kind of like they could be contractions. Let's time this. And I was at like 7 minutes apart, which I don't know if that's like good or bad, but they were random. Some were 5 minutes apart, some were 12 minutes apart. It was super like random, which also could have been false labor from what I was reading online. So I was like, whatever. Who knows if this is real? I think it's real, but who knows? So anyways, then they started getting closer and I was like, okay, this is actually labor. This is kind of painful. And so we went to a park in our neighborhood, and I think my screen's frozen. So let me see if I can get y'all back for YouTube. Let's see. Who knows? Okay, if you saw me waving at the camera, that was what happened. But anyways, if you aren't listening on YouTube, you can watch this on YouTube. But we ended up walking to a park in our neighborhood, and I literally just sat there in the sun, like having contractions, and then literally sat on like a playground swing thing and like swung through more contractions. So then we came home and I was still timing everything and we played cards and they were still super random. So I was like, man, maybe this isn't real labor. Some were 12 minutes again, some were 4 minutes apart. It was just all over the place. And I was like, darn, like I really want to have a baby. Like, I don't know, there's a point in pregnancy where you're just kind of over it. And so I got on the ground and I did some stretches from the mile circuit. And then I went and laid in the bed. And then literally the moment I laid down, 2 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart, 2 minutes apart. And I was like, oh, wait, oh no, this is bad. We need to go to the hospital. So literally it went from random and all over the place to 2 minutes apart, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And I was like, oh, wow, guys, we need to pack our bags. And so, yeah, we literally packed our bags, hopped in the car, and drove to the hospital. And when I was at the hospital, that was when I had all the things that happen right before you give labor. I don't know how much I want to go into detail on this photography podcast, but they say birth story. So anyways, that was the point where I had my like bloody show or whatever they call that. Literally, like I was checking in the hospital and I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I'm not even checked in. I was trying to check in. I was like, I have to use your bathroom. And they like wanted me to go to a room. And I was like, I have to go now. I went and I was like, oh my God, what just happened? I'm like freaking out. And then, yeah, going to triage. I'm already 5 centimeters dilated. Hadn't broke my water, but that's plenty dilated for them to admit you. So yeah, then I literally get admitted to the hospital. So basically I spent my first day. It's probably like 6 p.m. by then. First day of labor. I slept through part of it in the middle of the night, and then the rest of it I spent at a park, walking around in the sun, playing cards, and then I stretched, and then the stretching somehow just caused me to go straight into labor. So, yeah, checked in the hospital probably around like 6 to 8 p.m. maybe, or maybe later. I have no idea. That stage is a blur. But yeah, the first doctor really wanted to force Pitocin, which made no sense. I had just checked into the hospital and they were like, you should have Pitocin, you're not progressing. And I'm like, I literally just got here. I don't understand why we would need to do this. So she left. The nurse was like, I don't think you need it. And I was like, okay, good, I don't want it. So, yeah, I tried to go, as natural as I could for as long as I could. Ended up getting an epidural because I literally was dying. I think I was only 6 or 7 centimeters dilated, but I thought I was going to pass out. I was like almost puking because the pain was that bad. I don't know how people go all natural. Maybe in your own home or in a bathtub, it's more comfortable. But in a hospital room, I literally thought I was going to die. I could not do it. So I ended up getting an epidural, which I knew when I went in that I was open to it, but also open to going natural. This thing took like 30 minutes to get inside of me. I've never heard of any epidural taking so long. They had to poke me like 20 million times because they couldn't get it. It literally took so long. And so I'm just having like real birth contractions at that point, like labor contractions, while I'm like sitting up in a bed in the most uncomfortable position while they're stabbing me with needles. It was not fun. But the moment that thing worked, I didn't feel a thing. So yeah, they told me like, oh, once you have the epidural, like maybe you could nap. You'll need energy for giving birth. And I was like, nap? How in the world am I going to nap? I'm dying. I had no idea how an epidural worked. I literally slept for like 4 hours. Like I got it, didn't feel any pain, and I fell asleep. So it's like the middle of the night. My mom and Jake are awake because they're all like excited and freaking out, which I thought I would have been too. But no, I'm literally sleeping. And the doctor comes back like 4 hours later after she had told me, 4 hours ago that I needed to give birth. I need Pitocin. She comes back like 4 hours later and is like, okay, now you need the Pitocin. It's been a long time. And I was like half asleep still. I'm like, okay, maybe. And she was like, well, let me check you first. She's like, oh, wow, you're 10 centimeters dilated. It's time to have a baby. So yeah, literally I slept until 10 centimeters dilated. I didn't even know that was possible, and maybe it's happened to way more people, but I literally was asleep 10 centimeters dilated. No one knew. So, my labor experience as far as that goes, really peaceful. I literally slept. So they brought me like Italian ice to like, I don't know, give me energy or something, which I love. There's a photo of me just like I love lemon Italian ice. So they brought me like 2. There's literally just a photo of me like holding it, and I'm like so happy. It was amazing. And then, yeah, I'm literally so numb, can't feel anything, that Jake and my mom have to hold my legs for me to give birth. And, yeah, we start pushing. All is normal and well. It's going I think, at the same speed most things go. Obviously, you see the things in the movies where people give birth in like 2 minutes, but maybe we pushed for maybe like an hour. Her head was there. We were super close. I was doing it. It was really hard. It was a lot harder. Well, I don't know if I'd say harder than I expected, but I didn't know if I had any expectations because I didn't do a ton of research into birth because it kind of scared me. So I just kind of went in there blind. And yeah, it was hard. It was definitely hard, but it was like peaceful and good. And I'm honestly really glad I got that epidural because I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much without it, purely because of how bad the pain was in my experience. So yeah, then maybe like an hour and a half into like active pushing labor. I'm trying my best. They're not rushing me. They're just like, if you can only give 2 pushes, that's fine. You can break. Like, we were just literally taking our time. The night shift has to leave. The morning shift clocks on. I get this new nurse and she's low-key like a coach. She's like a track coach. I did track. So like, she's kind of like hardcore, a little more aggressive than the nurse before. But honestly, I needed it. It was so good. She was great. And I don't fully understand what actually happened because I was so just like, I don't know, my mind was in another place. I was literally giving birth. But evidently she called for everyone. She called for NICU, doctors, nurses, like literally like 12 to 15 people flooded in the room. And this is all new staff because the night shift had left and the morning shift I came and I hadn't had time to meet any of them. I think I'd met like one doctor and I think it may have, I don't know who it was. I'd met like one of them. They try to come in and meet you when they come on shift. No, all of a sudden there's 12 to 15 people in there. This doctor looks at me and she's like, you're going to give birth right now or we're going to vacuum this out of you. Go. And I was like, huh, okay. But like, I'm not even telling it that well. Literally 12 to 15 people flood in. Jake gets pushed to the back of the room. I have no idea anything's wrong because I don't know how labor is supposed to happen. So in my mind, I think I was thinking, oh, this is what happens when it's time to actually deliver, that all these doctors come in. So I'm like laughing. I'm literally laying back laughing. And I'm like, ha. And Jake's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. I'm just literally laughing. So for me, it was a wonderful experience. I was smiling. I had no idea anything was wrong. This doctor said that and I was like, huh, kind of scary. Let's do this. But didn't necessarily think anything of it in the moment. Like, it actually was such a peaceful, happy birthing experience for me. But come to find out, the cord was like totally wrapped around Georgia. Her heart rate was tanking. I had no idea about any of this. They didn't tell me any of this, which was wonderful because I did. After that doctor looked at me and said, you have 1 try. I did it. She came out. I think the doctors probably helped a little bit or pulled because I ended up having like 4 tears, which I think is why my recovery was pretty rough. I swear they were stitching me up for like an hour afterwards. So yeah, sitting, still painful a little bit sometimes, but definitely got torn a good bit. And then she came out and me and Jake were like, wait, our baby's supposed to be that small? She was like barely 6 pounds at 40 weeks pregnant. So they technically classified Georgia as SGA, which just means like small for gestational age, which meant the first day in the hospital was torture. You're supposed to feed the baby every 2 to 3 hours, but I can't feed her when she wants to be fed because they have to like do foot pricks and take blood every 2 to 3 hours to monitor her like blood sugar or something because she was so small. I have no idea, but it was literally torture. The moment that they said we could check out, we checked out. So I was dying, had like 4 tears, and was barely in the hospital for 24 hours because we were so over it. We were like, we literally can't do this. The foot pricks are driving us insane. Obviously, it's, for the good. They were trying to help Georgia and monitor her. But at the point that she passed the foot prick test, we were like, we're out of here. So we went home. And yeah. Also, when I got moved to postpartum, I don't know if my epidural was just extra strong or something. I was completely numb. Like, they had to transfer me into the bed. I don't think I got movement of my legs back for like 4 hours, which was crazy. But yeah, that's the story. It was beautiful for me. it was kind of traumatizing for Jake and my mom because they actually knew something bad had happened and I had no idea. So, and maybe it was just like the emotions running through me, even when the doctor like came in kind of scary and was like, you have to give birth right now or else. I was like, okay, let's do it. And we did it. And so, yeah, I guess that part was like, whoa. But like, she came out within a minute of that doctor saying that. So I don't know if I was scared. I think technically Jake and my mom were like both crying. They were like terrified. But I literally had no idea that anything was wrong. So the doctors, they killed it. I'm so glad that we gave birth where we did and that they noticed, the heart rate going down and got her out fast and that I was able to do it without needing intervention. Yeah, it was pretty wild. It felt like a movie when everyone flooded in. It was crazy. But yeah, the last baby question, because now this has been like a 20-minute birth story, but for those that actually cared, I hope you like it. One more person asked a baby question. They said, I'm about to have a baby. Are you taking maternity leave or are you just lightly working when you can? I feel like maternity leave is a soft word when it comes to owning your own business. Don't really have real maternity leave like working for a company. They just pay you to be gone for like who knows how long, 6 weeks, 9 weeks, however long they end up giving you. I had planned to take at least a month before giving birth and 1 to 2 months after, not like 1 to 2 months of just doing nothing, but 1 to 2 months of not shooting, things like that. The not shooting is true. Our last wedding was in October and our next wedding isn't until March 1st, which honestly, March 1st is pretty soon back to travel with a baby. We'll be flying her with us. So, she'll be like a little over 2 months old. So that will be like pretty soon, but it's not crazy, crazy soon, like 6 weeks back or something like that. So as far as physical shooting goes, I did have a long break and I'm so grateful because after that wedding October, I just would not have wanted to shoot another wedding. It was too much for my physical body. As of now, we are a little over 3 weeks postpartum. And maybe like 3 days ago was when we really started working a good bit again. And by a good bit, I mean like maybe 3 to 6 hours a day, maybe. We had out of office emails set up for until mid-February if needed. Didn't end up needing that. So I feel like we're kind of like back into work mode, but I say that, but we don't have a wedding until March. So like we're working, we're planning a lot of back end type work things. We're planning new education, sharing, the podcast, things like this, things that do take up a lot of our time that aren't physically shooting so that either me or Jake can still be home with the baby. No nannies needed, no help needed. I'm able to stay home and basically be with Georgia the whole time, except for when I'm working and trying to only work when she naps. So I wouldn't say I had like a real maternity leave, but definitely took about November, December, January, February, about 4 months off shooting weddings or shooting in general, like physically leaving the house. So yeah, I'd say I always tell people, I always say I have a soft maternity leave. So I'm still working some, but not working much. And working for me recently has looked like we get Georgia fed and we go out to coffee and she sleeps. I watch her and Jake answers emails and we talk, which is what I said in the beginning of the call. We have like work meeting, powwow, plan things out. He'll answer emails or I'll tell him to answer to emails and I'll sit there and just make sure that Georgia stays happy. So it's not a very like hard work environment right now. It's a very present work environment, which is really fun. So yeah, I'd say I have a soft maternity leave. It's also off season, so it kind of worked really well. If you were planning to have a baby and you're a wedding photographer, literally have one in December or January. It honestly worked out pretty well. I've never shot much between October and February anyways when I lived in the PNW, so it didn't change a ton for us financially or practically. It's pretty similar to most years, so it kind of worked out. Not that we planned it that way, but I would plan it that way if I were planning to have another. Let's see. I thought this was the last one, but there's actually another mom one. Something I've learned since becoming a mom. Is it okay? There's so many things. I didn't know that you bled after having a baby. That's so bad. That's how much I did not research giving birth. But I know that that was not the question. But something I've learned since having a baby. Oh man, I obviously none of this is scripted, so you're literally going to hear my natural reaction. There's so many things I didn't know that I have learned, but I don't know if there's like one main thing I've learned. I literally don't, I've literally learned so much because there was so much research I did not do. So I could literally blurt out like 20 things that I've learned since having Georgia. But I think overall, one cool thing I feel like we've started learning is how to have, which literally started as in like in the past 3 days, but how to have balance. And I do feel like I'm starting to learn the things I've always wanted to know. I've always, being raised in the South, I always thought that having a baby also meant kind of like giving up on your dreams because you have a baby and you stay home. And like that was a lot of what I saw in the South. It wasn't my mom. She took some time off to raise us, but like she did work and still does work. She's not retired yet. But I think for me, I never knew if I wanted to have a child because I always did have really big dreams and I wanted to pursue them, and I didn't see a ton of people that were pursuing them and having children. And so something we're learning recently, I feel like, is how to pursue our dreams and how to raise a family, and that'll be a very long process. So ask me again in like a year. But I feel like even recently, just mostly working when she's napping and still being able to be present, I think the one thing that worried me most about who I am naturally and having a baby was I wanted so badly to be present. I didn't want my work life to take away from raising a child, and being a good mom. So recently kind of learning that balance of working when she's sleeping has been really good. And I know I'm going to be learning so much, but just learning that it is possible. There are people doing it. There are a lot of wedding photographers that have kids, and there is a really big community. You just have to find it. And, that there's people out there that are doing it. So if you ever have anyone you need to ask questions, you can hit me up. If anyone listening is trying to have a baby and also like runs their own business. But there's also, I've realized so many more people doing it. It's just not as commonly talked about, I feel like, as, staying home and that more traditional kind of life. I think people are less likely to talk about like being a mom and working. And so, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to always reach out to me, or if you just need to vent. But there is a lot of us, and I feel like through just posting recently on Instagram, I've met and DM'd so many amazing people and learned that, yeah, this totally is possible. Anything is possible that you want to set your mind to. But yeah, 2 questions. I'm doing this recording before 24 hours of asking questions was even up. So I'll just do the 2 more questions. I feel bad that there probably will be more, but I haven't had time to let them come in. But someone asked what my hobbies are outside of work, which is interesting because I used to have so many random hobbies. During pregnancy, I got into like painting. I like painted the piece of furniture that I'm currently looking in right now. Me and Jake have gone through a phase of skateboarding before. I really enjoy thrifting. I feel like that's a hobby, like thrifting and fashion and clothes. Love that. Baking, really got into baking when I was pregnant. Hopefully we'll do that again. Haven't had enough time to do anything except for like work and make sure Georgia's okay and alive and eating. I used to paint. Jake and I have bicycles, which we won't be able to do that until Georgia can sit up. Once she can sit up, we have an attachment to where she can ride the bike with us. But yeah, we bought bicycles and we used to bike to town and stuff. So yeah, bicycling, baking. We used to skateboard, still have our skateboards. We have a little tiny baby one for George too, once she's old enough. But that used to be something we did. I try to be careful doing that now because I don't know, if I got injured, it would just be hard to like do weddings. But yeah, thrifting. I kind of feel like coffee is a hobby. Don't get me wrong, but going to coffee shops, I feel like, is a hobby. It is a thing. you're doing like the same thing almost daily and there's like purpose and a reason. I don't know. I feel like going to coffee is a hobby. So that, um, yeah, I'm sure I have other hobbies that I'm just not thinking of. But yeah, baking was my most recent big hobby. So much so that I made like goodie bags for all of our neighbors. We live in an apartment that has like, I don't know, around like maybe 8 units or something. Just more like a house almost. And I made Christmas like cookie boxes for all the neighbors. And then anytime I'd have leftovers, I used to set out a basket in our like common area and give away the baked goods. So yeah, our neighbors, we have a great relationship with all of our neighbors now. I feel like food really unites people. So yeah, baking used to really be one of them. Baking and cooking when I was pregnant. We'll see after pregnancy if I'm still into it. You'll have to ask me later on. But yeah, I spent most all of my time either baking or like painting towards the end of pregnancy. So postpartum, who knows? There's this group of Mommy and Me like Pilates where you literally wear your baby and do Pilates with this group. And I really want to go try it out. They've moved one of their locations closer to LA, and a lot of them were more like on the outskirts, like too far away, maybe an hour drive. And one of them is coming pretty close to even where our daughter's like doctor is. So I'm very excited. I want to go try that. I had like a hot yoga phase once in my life, and I want to try and work out. It does not come supernaturally to me. Working out is not one of my hobbies, but maybe Pilates will be. We'll see. Stay tuned. Once George is old enough to go, we're going to go and see how it is. But yeah, and then the last question I'm going to answer, and I know this podcast episode is very kind of all over the place, mostly a life update, but we need life updates sometimes. The last one is business based. It's not about me. It's not about birth. Someone said, how do I get more eyes on my work? Question mark, exclamation mark. Google Ads, question mark. I do not know a ton about Google Ads, and most of the people that I do know that work in the ad space helping photographers with ads work with Meta Ads, not Google Ads. We actually have a podcast episode with Peyton Helm on Meta Ads, so you should watch it. He is great. If you have any interest in ad marketing, I feel like he has a coaching program. You can join it. His stuff seems really good, and he really knows what he's talking about. So if you're interested in ads in that capacity, I know his are Meta, not Google, but definitely look into him. At the end of the day, to get more eyes on your work, you need to market yourself, like, and in whatever capacity that might be, whether that's in-person events, whether you're going to networking events, you're going to wedding shows, you're going to workshops, to conferences, whatever you can do to get more people to know that you exist. Whether it is Google Ads, that could work if that's what you want to choose to focus your energy on. Whether it's social media and you're going to post reels all the time and get so many eyes on your work and get followers and people inquiring, that could be an option as well. Whether it's Pinterest, whether it's ranking in Google without ads, maybe through your SEO being better. At the end of the day, to get more eyes on your work, you just need to boost your marketing avenues in some capacity, and you need to know what those are and prioritize actually beating out your competition on one of those platforms. So if you want it to be Google Ads, I say go for it. If you want it to be social media, go for it, but decide what it is. Maybe pick two baskets to throw your eggs into at least, and really devote your energy into those two and actually performing well in those spaces, whether that's ad marketing, whether that's social media, whether that's in-person relationships, whatever that might be. You need to get yourself in front of people. You can't just have an Instagram and have a website and expect people to find you. That's just not how it works. So they asked Google Ads. I don't think you need Google Ads in any capacity, but if that's the avenue that you want to choose to pursue it and pursue it well. That's about all, folks. This is kind of a mini episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any more questions, DM me on Instagram, connect with me, engage. Most likely I will see it and respond. I know when I gave birth, everyone was like, congrats. And I literally have never responded to any of them. Even text messages from my own friends and family. I was so overwhelmed. I did not get back to anyone. So if I don't respond, don't take it poorly, but I try to get back to everyone. So if you are a mother and you want to connect, if you are thinking about having a child and you want to connect, or if you're a photographer and you just want to learn about photography, definitely follow, subscribe, do all the things. Leave us a review if you like the episodes, or share summer school with your friends. It would mean the world to me. We have so many exciting things coming in the future. We have recently, on our little coffee shop work dates, been planning something really, really cool. So definitely stay tuned. I think it'll be launched around March or May. I have not decided if I want to do spring or summer. Really just depends on how this next month with Georgia goes and how much we're able to get done. But exciting things are on the horizon. You need to stay tuned. So definitely turn on your notifications for all things summer school, my Instagram, however you want to turn on notifications. And I cannot wait to see you guys next week. Bye, guys.